Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're talking about Insecure Season 5, Episode 7. And at this point I'm kind of taking every episode as it is. I kind of enjoyed our time together because this might be the last time we're seeing all these girls together. So I just took it as a chill episode. And I'm starting to feel Issa's pain. So I guess the climax of the season will be Lawrence and Issa's reunion. Like that's kind of what they're building up to. And this episode is supposed to set up for that. So I guess the theme of the season is closure, which is maybe why it's a bit slower. But again, like it's hard for me to judge these episodes because individually they are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. But when you think about the fact that we might never see these people again, you're just like, ugh, like can we pick it up a bit? So we'll start off with Condola and Lawrence. I think this is the best storyline of the whole season, to be honest, just because it's very true to life. So ever since Lawrence moved back to Los Angeles, it seems like him and Condola have found a happy medium. Like they seem to be very cordial. They found peace. Lawrence is able to take his son away and take care of him for a bit without Condola like hounding him. So in comparison to where we saw them last, there seems to be like some peace, right? And this whole scene together is really interesting because he's helping her out around the house. You can kind of see even Condola is more open-minded in terms of like Lawrence's suggestions. Like there's this cute scene where they're feeding their baby and he kind of suggests something that might work and she was open to it. So again, the vibe between them has totally changed. It seems very peaceful. He's helping her wash the dishes, but I think him moving back to LA kind of may have given Condola a false sense of hope, because I think one of the best scenes in this is when Condola and Lawrence are talking and Lawrence apologizes to her. He says, listen, I'm sorry that I didn't see your point of view. And I think that is true because he was so fixated on being a good father and kind of proving something to himself that I don't think he understood the burden that Condola had taken on. Like he just wasn't seeing her side of it in terms of like how much it takes to be a single mother. And I don't think you can use anything that Condola said against her because again, like this is a child and going back and forth with the other parent is just not beneficial for the child, right? So they've kind of come to see, they're very narrow-minded in their thinking and now they're more, it seems like there's a bigger picture. And Condola was very thankful, right? Because she kind of admits that at some point she even thought about not having the baby at all because just the burden just became too much. And so, they're talking and I got the sense that, this is a difficult situation because I think Condola really wants Lawrence. At one point she says, I want you to be happy. I want the best for you. I want all these things. But I got the sense it's like she wants him to be happy with her. Whereas I don't get that romantic vibe from Lawrence. I think Lawrence is doing his best. He kind of is starting to see her point of view, but that's it. Like I don't get a sense that he wants to be romantically involved with her in any way. And so this is an awkward situation, but when you compare where they started to where they are now, again, I enjoyed the storyline because co-parenting is very difficult, especially when you're not with the other parents, right? It just adds all these layers and it really, it takes you back. So I thought this was the best storyline and I like how they kept going back and forth between Lawrence and Condola and this girls trip because I think that the whole purpose of this episode is to set up for this reunion, right? To set up for this conversation that Lawrence and Issa are inevitably going to have. And again, I guess this season is about closure. So we get to this girls' party and I don't know what to say about it. Like it was chill, it was fun. I have nothing really bad to say about it. Something about this season is like, I can't tell if it's purposely slow, like because you want things to happen, but they're not happening. So they get over to Issa's house and, she planned this whole day. They were supposed to have massages. They're supposed to do all these things, but it got canceled. And so what do? They decide to stay in, get high, and get very drunk. And this whole game of like questions in a hat was super brilliant. I think I'm gonna use that at parties. Like it's so simple, but the questions that people were throwing in there and the answers that were coming out, it was really deep. So when you compare Issa to the rest of the group, like she is in total denial. So it seems like everybody else has made some progress, right? Like I think the character that has made the most progress is Molly. So she is kind of in talks with Torian. They have chemistry. Apparently they're texting each other and like he's asking her what she's doing. And I don't know, she seems very smitten, right? Like it's going past the work relationship. And you could just tell, like, she kind of found her one in a way. Like, this is promising. Tiffany's moving to Denver, so she's had a lot of problems with her husband, but things have worked out. And Kelly's an interesting character because you guys let me know. There's been no character development with Kelly. Kelly is always Kelly. And you do get a sense that she is going through something, but they haven't really spent enough time with her for us to, like, she's kind of comedic relief. Like, she comes in to kind of, like, ease the tension. So again, she's one of those characters that it might have been nicer to flesh out. But anyways, when you compare all of them to Issa, Issa's in total denial. So they start this game, and one of the questions that comes out is, if there's something you could do over again, what would it be? And Issa says, you know, I wish I knew what I wanted sooner. And everything is hinting at Lawrence, right? Like, I think what she meant was, I wish I knew I wanted him before I let him go. Like, there is that kind of weird tension. And I think the most significant sort of, like, the moment where things kind of changed is when Issa basically, one of the questions was, I don't know, they were comparing exes and whose ex would you sleep with, essentially. And Issa's exes came up, and she's had some very attractive exes. And in this conversation, she kind of admits that she loves Lawrence. And she also confesses to the group that she saw Condola and Lawrence together. And not only that, she assumed they were together and happy. Like, she has this image of them as the perfect family, and they're doing well. And I think it's interesting because when we're not doing well and we feel really bad, sometimes we assume other people are having the best time, when in fact they're not. And so she kind of assumes all this stuff, and Kelly and Tiffany are looking at her, and they kind of drop the bomb like, hey, Condola and Lawrence were at Tiffany's, you know, kids' party, and there was some tension there. Like, they were not, like, things were not looking good. And the way Issa's mind just fully switched over, like, she tried to act like she didn't care, because her whole vibe this episode was like, I can start over. And it was weird because she actually said starting over, and the whole time I was thinking, what about your boyfriend? What do you mean starting over? You know, like, before Nathan called and said he loved her, she seemed pretty done with him. Like, there was this energy where she was just, like, kind of done with everything. So when she finds out that Lawrence and Condola might not be 100%, her whole vibe changes, right? Like, she now has to go after what she wants. And I was just looking at her like, and suddenly her mood kind of shifts. So she goes from dread to hope. And they have this whole conversation about, like, the smart choice versus the right choice. And I think Issa feels bad because some part of her kind of regrets not staying with him and making it work. Because sometimes we, like, on paper, she made the right decision. Like, yeah, you should leave him. He's having a baby with another woman. But then when she thinks about her circumstance and the amount of sort of, you know, things they've gone through, I think some part of her wonders if they could have made it work. So she's kind of torn, right? Did she make a decision that looked smart but was actually not best for her? Like, I think it's a difficult question because sometimes the right choice, it doesn't have to make sense to everybody else. It just has to make sense to you. And sometimes it's so hard for us to kind of separate that because from the outside looking in, I think it was very hard for Issa to justify staying with Lawrence. She might have kind of, you know, she might have kind of made a decision that, you know, like, wasn't really true to her. So now she's really thinking about it deeply. Like, did I do the right thing, or should I maybe stayed with him and made it work? And this is a difficult question, right? Like, sometimes we kind of get lost in what things look like and not how they feel. And again, like, sometimes the right choice, it's hard to justify. Like, only you know what's right for you, and trying to explain that to other people can often lead to your own detriment. And that's the situation that Issa is in at the moment. So, with that, Issa's gears started turning. They're getting ready for dinner. And as they're getting ready for dinner, Tiffany basically drops the bomb that she's leaving to Denver. And they have this heartfelt moment, and she's leaving. And Molly was like, yeah, you have to be really intentional with the people you love. And I saw Issa's face, and she was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I have to call Lawrence. Like, her mind was in the gutter at that point. So they decided to stay in and just get high and chill. And to be honest, it was a nice night. Like, again, the episode itself, there's nothing wrong with it. And they're relaxing, and suddenly everybody starts lusting. And it's so funny because when you really want someone and you're under the influence of alcohol and weed, it just intensifies. So suddenly everybody starts texting their lust, right? Like, Kelly kind of takes it to an extreme and starts texting celebrities. Molly is like, she does the thing where she gives the phone to her friend. And I've done this before where it's like, okay, you send the message. because you just can't do it, right? Like it just cringe, like you're cringing thinking about sending this person a message. And again, they're just like totally lost in the sauce. Like there's just no logic anymore. And then Issa has the audacity to like call Lawrence, and thankfully Molly was there and she took the phone away, and she's like, what are you doing? Are you okay? And she's like, no, we got to go after what we want. Like it's just part of the game. And you know, like this is, and again, I think Issa, the problem with Issa's mentality at the moment is that she's thinking from a place of scarcity. Like she's thinking like, I have to salvage what I can. Because yeah, theoretically you could start over, but if you're thinking about it that way, you know, it sounds like a long process. Like nobody wants to start over. You'd rather just kind of fix what you already had and try to make that work. So again, it's hard to tell if Issa wants Lawrence because she really loves him, or because she's really scared of being alone, right? And I think Molly was trying to help her with that. Like, if you still feel the same way after you're not under the influence of alcohol and drugs, then maybe you can call him. And so they just kind of chilled out the rest of the night. And again, it was a chill episode. You know, this might be the last time we see them together. I think if you binge this series, this is a very, very disappointing finale. But if you kind of follow these girls over like the years, then it's okay. Then you're just kind of chilling with it. So you know, we'll see what this reunion brings. The morning after comes, they all leave. Issa waves them goodbye, and then she notices a text from Nathan. And this is a crossroads if I ever saw one. So they have a conversation, and Nathan admits, you know what, I do love you. I am avoidant. I'm working on it. I'm not leaving. I'll stay here and I'll figure it out. And I love Nathan's communication skills because he admits that he's avoidant. He kind of like commits to staying and kind of working through these problems and not just running away from them. And this is big news, right? He says, I love you. I've always loved you. And again, I've always felt that Nathan, it's very clear where he stands. Like he's not being wishy-washy. I don't think there's anything two-faced about him. Like there's just nothing. Like he's very transparent, but I cannot say the same about Issa, because that I love you she hit him with was like, I don't know if I bought it, to be honest. Like you guys let me know. She's like, I love you too. Like there was just something like, I don't know if she wanted the validation. Like I really couldn't tell, but I do sense that Nathan is very clear on what he wants and Issa is not. And the point where this couldn't have been made more clear is when Lawrence calls her back. And I was impressed by the fact that she didn't pick up the phone. So shortly after she hangs up, like she finishes her call with Nathan, Lawrence calls her back because he noticed a missed call from her when she was kind of high and she called him. And so he calls her, she sees it, and she doesn't pick up. So the fact that she doesn't pick up is a good sign, you know, like maybe she is starting to, you know, like see the light. But again, you still get the sense that this conversation is coming, and you know, this is kind of the thing that we're leading up to. So overall, I thought it was a good episode. You know, in terms of a finale, you just have to kind of take yourself out of it. But I do get the sense that Issa is not over Lawrence, and if she had the choice, she would be with him. But this closure that she's talking about, I'm not sure. Like, does she just want to have that conversation with him so they can be friends? Like, I think because they were together for so long, that even the idea of just never talking to this man again is just in itself not really something that Issa can deal with. So maybe closure for her would be coming to some sort of happy medium with him as well, so they're not, you know, totally avoiding each other like the plague. Or it could be getting back together. Like, you guys let me know what you think, and until next time.